Ever been ignored after opening up to someone? That sinking feeling in your chest. It's not just in your head. Rejection literally hurts your brain, like a real injury.
Here's the trick.
Rejection. It's something we all experience, but few people talk about just how deep it cuts. It doesn't matter if it's a breakup, being ghosted, getting passed over for a job, or being excluded from a group. The sting feels personal, sharp, almost unbearable. But what if I told you? Your brain reacts to rejection the same way it reacts to physical pain. That's not an exaggeration. It's neuroscience. Studies using brain scans have shown that when you're rejected, the same regions of your brain that process physical pain, like a sprained ankle or a burn, actually light up. Specifically, the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula. Why would our brains treat an emotional wound like a physical one? Because once upon a time, rejection was a threat to survival. Let's go back thousands of years. Imagine you're living in a tribe. Food, safety, protection. It all depends on staying with your group. If the tribe rejects you, if you're cast out, you're suddenly vulnerable, alone, exposed to danger. That's not just uncomfortable, it's life-threatening. So, the human brain evolved to fear rejection. It became hypersensitive to social disconnection. It developed a built-in alert system. Warning, you're being left behind. This could mean danger. Even today, in a world where we have smartphones in cities and supermarkets, your brain still carries that ancient survival instinct. That's why a text left unanswered can trigger panic. Why not getting invited can feel like betrayal. Why someone walking away can hurt more than a punch. Rejection feels like life or death, because a part of your brain still believes it is. So what exactly happens inside your brain when you're rejected? Let's break it down. First, your brain processes it as pain. Literally. Your dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, which is responsible for detecting pain and emotional distress, activates immediately. Next, your insula jumps in, helping you process the negative emotional experience. But that's not all. There's a drop in dopamine, the feel-good chemical that motivates you and brings pleasure. Suddenly, nothing feels exciting anymore. The food you loved tastes bland. Music that made you smile now feels hollow. The world loses its color. At the same time, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. Your heart races. Your thoughts spiral. You may feel anxious, shaky, or even numb. Rejection throws your nervous system off balance. Because for your brain, something dangerous just happened. Ever replayed a rejection over and over again? What you said, what they said, what you should have said? That's not just overthinking. It's your brain trying to solve a threat. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain involved in problem-solving and self-reflection, kicks into overdrive. It's searching for an explanation, something to fix, something to change, something to understand. But when the pain is emotional and unpredictable, like someone losing interest or ending a friendship, there's often no clear reason. And that confuses your brain. So it keeps digging, replaying scenes, overanalyzing texts, hunting for answers that may not exist. This is called rumination. And while it might feel like you're being productive, like you're getting closer to clarity, it often just traps you in the pain. You end up reliving the rejection again and again and again. Here's the part that hurts the most. Rejection doesn't just sting your feelings. It attacks your identity. It makes you question your worth, your value, your place in the world. You start asking, am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? Why does this always happen to me? That inner voice, the one that's usually quiet, suddenly becomes cruel. Psychologists call this globalizing the wound. Instead of seeing the rejection as one situation with one person, we start seeing it as proof of who we are. One person leaves, and your brain says, see? No one will stay. One failure happens, and your brain whispers, you're not cut out for this. It turns a moment into an identity. But the truth? Rejection is not who you are. It's just something that happened to you. You might wonder, If rejection feels like physical pain, why don't we treat it like we do a broken leg or a fever? Think about it. If you broke your arm, would you try to get over it in a day? Would you tell yourself to stop being weak? You'd rest, you'd bandage it, you'd care for it. But when it comes to emotional pain, we often don't give ourselves permission to heal. We minimize it, brush it off, say things like, "I should be over this. Why am I still thinking about them?" This is stupid, but emotional injuries are real, and they require real care. In fact, a study found that taking Tylenol, yes, the physical painkiller, can actually reduce the sting of rejection in the brain. That's how closely linked the two types of pain are. But we don't need pills to heal from rejection. We need compassion and understanding. One of the most damaging effects of rejection is how it pushes people into isolation. After a painful experience, your brain goes into protection mode. It starts whispering, "Don't open up again. Don't trust anyone. Keep your guard up." It feels safer to shut down. But here's the paradox. The very thing your brain craves, connection, is what it pulls away from. And this creates a loop. You get rejected, you isolate, you feel lonelier, you fear more rejection, and you isolate again. It's called the loneliness loop, and it's hard to escape, because every time you think about reaching out, a part of you remembers the pain. Your brain says, "No, not again." But healing only happens when you gently challenge that voice. You don't have to trust everyone. You don't have to open up all at once, but take one small step toward connection. Say hi. Send the message. Let someone in, just a little. Your brain will resist, but your heart will thank you. In the digital world, rejection doesn't just happen. It lingers. You don't just get ghosted. You see them online, living, laughing, moving on. You don't just get left out. You watch the party in stories, one click at a time. Social media has amplified rejection. Now it's public. Now it's visible. Now it's permanent. And your brain? It can't tell the difference between real life and virtual life. The pain of being excluded online can activate the same emotional distress as real-world rejection. And worse, algorithms feed what we watch. So if you're heartbroken, you might keep seeing their face, their smile, their updates, their absence, as presence. If this is happening to you, be kind to your brain. Mute them. Unfollow gently. Create digital space so your emotions can breathe. You don't owe anyone constant access to your heart, especially not when it's healing. Did you know some people feel rejection more intensely than others? It's not weakness, it's wiring. And often, it starts in childhood. If you grew up in an environment where love felt conditional, if you were criticized often or ignored, or made to feel like your feelings were too much, your brain may have developed a high sensitivity to rejection. This means even small setbacks, a delay in a reply, a misunderstanding, a neutral comment, can feel massive. It's like your nervous system is always scanning for danger. Your body remembers. And every new rejection can echo old wounds. But here's the beautiful truth. What was wired in pain can be rewired in safety, with time, with care, with love. You are not broken. You were just shaped by circumstances that weren't your fault. And you have the power, starting now, to rewrite that story. Here's something no one tells you when you're hurting. Rejection can refine you. It won't feel like it at first. At first, it feels like destruction, like everything is falling apart. But sometimes, things fall apart so better things can be built. Rejection forces you to look inward, to ask the hard questions, to grow stronger boundaries, to be clearer about what you want, and who deserves access to you. People often say, rejection is redirection. But let's go deeper. Rejection can be protection. Not everything you lose is a loss. Not everyone who walks away was meant to stay. Sometimes the rejection was a door shutting to prevent you from walking into something that would have slowly broken you. You just couldn't see it yet. Give yourself time. With distance, pain often reveals its purpose. Your self-talk matters more than you know, especially after rejection. Because your brain is in a fragile state. It's listening, it's absorbing, and what you say to yourself becomes your reality. So let's rewrite the script. Instead of, I wasn't enough, try, I gave what I had. It wasn't received. That's not a reflection of my worth. Instead of, I'm so stupid for caring, try, it's brave to care. It's human to feel. My emotions are valid. Instead of, no one ever stays, try, some people leave, others come. The right ones will stay. I'm learning who they are. Speak to yourself like you would a friend, with gentleness, with compassion, with hope. Words don't just describe your pain, they shape your healing. In the hours and days after rejection, your nervous system is on high alert. You might feel shaky, emotional, or numb. Here's what you can do to help your brain regulate. Name the feeling. It sounds simple, but labeling emotions. I feel rejected. I feel sad. I feel alone. Calms your brain's fear response. It brings activity from the emotional brain into the rational brain, and that creates space. Move your body. Rejection creates internal tension. Taking a walk, doing yoga, or even just stretching helps release stored emotional energy. Breathe deeply. Slow, intentional breaths. In for 4 seconds, out for 6. Signal safety to your brain. Your body starts to realize, I'm okay, I'm not in danger. Limit digital exposure. If seeing someone's updates is hurting you, mute them. Protect your mental space. Healing isn't about being strong all the time. It's about being wise with what you allow in. Speak kindness. Your thoughts shape your recovery. Be gentle. Reassure yourself. Say, this hurts, but I will heal. And you will. At the root of rejection is a deeper longing, to belong. You're not weak for wanting connection. You're not needy for wanting to be seen, chosen, included. You're human. Belonging is a core human need, as essential as food and water. We're wired for attachment. That's why we crave being part of something. When we feel rejected, the brain's oxytocin system, the part responsible for bonding and trust, goes quiet. You stop feeling safe. You feel alone, on edge, exposed. But here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to wait for someone else to give you belonging. You can create spaces where you feel seen, people who hear you, places where you're celebrated, not just tolerated. And it starts with this truth. You deserve connection, not because of how perfect you are, but because of how human you are. There's a special kind of pain that comes with romantic rejection. When you love someone, or even just hope for something, your brain creates a bond. Dopamine surges, oxytocin flows. Your brain starts attaching, planning, imagining. So when that bond breaks, especially suddenly, it's like an internal collapse. Neuroscientist Helen Fisher found that the brain responds to romantic rejection much like it does to cocaine withdrawal. That's how strong the craving can be. You're not crazy for missing someone who hurt you. Your brain is experiencing loss on a chemical level, but withdrawal doesn't last forever. Over time, the brain recalibrates. New pathways form, and you come back to yourself, clearer, stronger, wiser. Don't rush it, but trust it. Healing is already happening, even on the days you feel stuck. One of the most painful forms of rejection is the one that offers no explanation. Ghosting. Someone disappears. No closure, no answers, no honesty, just silence. And that silence screams louder than any words. Your brain craves resolution. It wants to make sense of things. When you don't get that, it creates its own stories. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I'm not worth the truth. Maybe they never cared. But ghosting doesn't mean you weren't valuable. It just means they weren't ready to offer presence, maturity, or honesty. Closure doesn't always come from others. Sometimes you have to give it to yourself. Say this out loud. I didn't deserve silence, but I deserve peace, and I release what I cannot control. You don't need their goodbye to move forward. You need your own permission to heal. Resilience isn't about being unaffected. It's about learning to bend, not break. Every time you go through rejection and come out the other side, no matter how long it takes, you're rewiring your brain for strength. You learn that you can survive without certain people, that you can feel pain without becoming it, that you can lose and still rise. Here's what rejection can teach you. What matters to you? Pain clarifies priorities, where your boundaries are. Being hurt reveals what you will and won't accept next time. How strong your heart is. To feel deeply and keep going, that's courage. Resilience isn't built in comfort. It's built in moments like these. When you fall, feel everything, and still choose to stand. You're stronger than you know, and every rejection proves it. When rejection hits, it's tempting to distract yourself. Scroll endlessly. Hook up with someone new. Numb with food, shows, or substances. But here's the truth. What you don't feel, you can't heal. Pain ignored becomes pain stored. And pain stored? It resurfaces, later, louder, heavier. You don't need to suffer alone, but you do need to face what's inside you. Sit with your feelings, cry if you need to, write, breathe. Let it move through you. You're not weak for feeling, you're wise. Because when you face the storm, instead of running, you find out it wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to clear a path. You may feel isolated in your pain, like everyone else is moving on while you're still stuck. But let me say this clearly, you're not alone. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone else is staring at a screen, hurting like you, wondering what they did wrong, trying to make sense of silence. You don't see them, but they're there, feeling the same ache, wishing for the same closure, praying for the same peace. Pain is deeply personal, but it's also universal. We are more connected than we realize, especially in heartbreak. So if you're watching this right now, and you feel like you're the only one carrying this weight, you're not. I see you, and millions of others would too, if only they knew your story. Rejection is not the end. It feels like it is. Like the chapter closed too soon, like the light went out without warning. But every end is also a beginning. This pain, it's part of your becoming. It's showing you your strength. It's softening you toward others. It's shaping your voice, your values, your vision. The version of you that emerges after this will be more grounded, more awake, more powerful. So let the tears fall, let the memories pass, let the old versions of you fade. And then, take a deep breath and begin again. You are not your rejection. You are not their choice. You are not the silence they left you in. You are worthy. You are healing. And your story is still being written, beautifully and in your own time.